Welcome to Throwback Thursday. This is when I grab myself some beanie weenies, my hobo knife, and I sit down and watch one of those scenes from an old video that you may have forgot about. Come and join me. Should be a good time.
Well, by now you probably realize we've entered the Swiss Army knife portion of Almost Live, and well, so far all you've seen is a little knife, the Rambler, and now you're seeing this knife, which you've already seen before, which is Lucky Cat for 2021. The reason I'm breaking that out is because, well, guess what? All I've got to show you this time are some small knives, a couple by Victorinox and a couple by Wenger. So 58 millimeters and 65 millimeters. And one of them is associated with this knife, so I thought I would break that one out first. And remember, this was Lucky Cat. This was the 2021 limited edition. I just recently did a video on that. I will try and link that below so you can go and check it out if you're into the 58 millimeter limited edition knives, because I showed all of the ones for 2021 in that episode. This is the only one I have picked up so far. But I had mentioned and I had shown several of the Victorinox cat-related classic SDs, and I mentioned that I wanted to get a couple more, and I have since got the one that I really wanted to get, and that was the 2016 Kokeshi, which is also one that is kind of related to Japan. Well, not kind of, very much related to Japan, because the Kokeshi is a Japanese doll that basically doesn't have any hands or feet. So it's just a body and a head with all the designs basically cut into the body. And well, this is an idea of what a Kokeshi would look like. I might have to do a video on this one later. I don't know, but in any case, the reason I kept it or wanted it is because you see on the back there you have another Manake Neko or Lucky Cat, and so that's why I wanted it. And you see, and so it's a great addition to my cat themed Victorinox knives. Also a great companion for the 2021 Lucky Cat, because, well, another Lucky Cat. So let's just set those up there and move on to a couple other small Swiss Army knives. And the next one up is actually going to be one from Wenger. And unfortunately, this is one that Victorinox didn't pick up, but should pick up. Now the first is the Wenger Swiss Clipper AT. AT standing for air travel. And this is just a fantastic knife by Wenger. If you can find one, this is one you'll probably want to try and grab. First of all, it does have the nail clippers in there because, well, it's for clipping nails, and it does work. And let's get it out. I will say the nail clippers are not the easiest to deploy, but they do come out eventually. You see there, Wenger on the back. And the way they work is you flip this over, and then you have your nail clippers. And yes, they do work. Unfortunately, I don't need to clip my nails right now. And then the other tools on here, well, on the back side, you have a nail file with a nail cleaner. And I like that style of nail file. And then on this side, you have the scissors. And these are the Wenger scissors. I go back and forth on which ones I like better. But these have that lever, and this lever, it tends to fail less often than the spring. However, once that lever fails, it's pretty much toast. And the other tool on here is what makes this air travel instead of just your typical nail clipper knife by Wenger. And that is this blade right here. And it is the micro screwdriver, or the one for your eyeglasses. And so, and that is really cool. And I wish this blade would find its way onto Victorinox knives, such as the Jet Setter and everything else, because if you don't have a cutting blade, this is a terrific blade to have. Now, this is actually the second one of these that I bought. The first one I bought, well, let me show it to you. So I bought this one several years ago because I saw it and it's like, man, that is a really cool little knife, and I can definitely use that in my fishing gear, because what I did was I took the little nail file and I turned it into a nice little point so that I can clean out the paint from fishhook eyes and stuff like that. And so I made a little point out of the screwdriver. You see the difference there. And it wasn't hard to do or anything. I mean, I just basically took a file and filed it down on both ends to get it nice and pointy. And it really works good for cleaning gook out of the eyes on fish hooks and stuff like that. So I can keep my lures nice and clean and stuff. And then after I went and did all that, well, what happens, Wenger totally goes out of business, and Victorinox says that they're not going to be making these basically anymore. So I had to rush out and get one right away. These are still available, but they are getting very expensive and hard to find, and most of them have like a translucent pink scale on them, which I'm not at all crazy about. And if you do notice, it does have toothpick and tweezers. So has all the devices. The only difference is it just does not have a main blade. It's got that really cool screwdriver. Let's move on to a Victorinox knife that you just don't come across too often. Yeah, the Victorinox whistle knife. And it's actually a pretty good whistle considering the size of the knife that it is on. Now, Wenger also makes one, but they have one on an 85 millimeter frame. It takes up a whole lot more room. And, well, the basic history of this knife is, according to the SAC Wiki, a company out in California wanted to get an emergency sounding device built into a knife for survival situations. And the idea was to basically have a button or something that you push, and it would signal, make a loud noise so that people could find you and everything. And it came down to, it was somewhat impractical, the way that they were thinking of doing it, because it was going to require the person to buy batteries, insert them into the knife handle. It wasn't going to be 100% reliable or anything else. And so somebody came up with the bright idea of, why don't we just put a whistle on it? And that's how this came about. So it's like, keeping it simple made a lot more sense than trying to make it overcomplicated for a survival situation. And well, obviously, you know me and whistles. If you're going in the woods, you should always have a whistle. This works out great because you also got basically your classic SD. It can fit on a keychain, and it's something small enough that you can carry it anywhere, and you have a pretty good whistle. According to the specs, the whistle on this is 102 decibels, so I'm pretty certain you can hear it from a pretty decent distance. And what you have also on it is, well, it's a classic SD. So you've got that little classic SD blade. You have your nail file and a little screwdriver, and obviously the scissors. Now, you are lacking a toothpick, but you still do have the tweezers. So if you wanted to, you could always swap out the tweezers for a toothpick if you wanted to. Another option, if you really thought about it, is you could also pop off this scale maybe and put on the scale with the light on there if you wanted to do that. I don't know if that would work or not. I'm betting it might. In any case, these are also somewhat scarce. You're not going to find them everywhere. And they don't show up on eBay that often either. And they basically came out in 2000. I don't know if they are still making them or not. So they are definitely a scarce item, but they are also pretty loud. And what I also know about it is I find you're better off if you're blowing on it with the knife in this position with the hole on the bottom instead of the hole on the top. It seems like you should be blowing on it this way, but it seems to sound better if you're blowing on it with the knife upside down or even sideways as opposed to this way. So something to think about if you happen to get a hold of a Victorinox whistle knife. And my final little knife for today is the Wenger Pocket Tool Chest. Now this also turned into the Evo 88, so it would have these kind of scales on it if it was an Evo 88. And for all those people out there who are cringing because I'm calling these scales instead of covers, well, you know what? In the world of Victorinox, the red covers on these knives are often called scales. And it's because they snap onto a liner. And so that's just the way it is. If you're talking Victorinox knives and you're hanging around people who collect Victorinox knives, get used to them calling the red handles on these things scales, because as far as they're concerned, they are. Because the tweezers here and the toothpick are commonly known as scale tools. And so guess what they're getting inserted into? The scales of the knife. Now, this is, like I said, the Victorinox tool chest, the pocket tool chest, and it's a pretty good one. It's their answer to the Mini Champ, and quite frankly, I think this is a better knife choice than the Mini Champ. You do have the small blade. This is 65 millimeters also, as opposed to 58 millimeters, so you've got just that extra 1/4 inch going on with it. So this is like 2.5 inches versus 2.25 inches. And then you have the nail file with the cuticle tip or the cleaner tip. And then over here you have this device, which is your bottle opener, your wire stripper, and small flathead screwdriver. So that's what you have on this side. You flip it over, and obviously you got the scissors, which you would expect, but then it also has two other blades that are really helpful. One of them is the micro screwdriver, and we talked about that already. The fact that you can use it for your eyeglasses is really cool, and this actually, I think, also appears on the Opti tool. I wish I could get a hold of one of those too. And finally, you have a reamer with a sewing awl. So you have a reamer on this, or sewing eye rather. So you have a reamer on your pocket tool chest, and it's nice and sharp, and you can actually ream things with it. And the fact that it is in mounted makes it a really nice tool too. So another tool, well, the tool options on this I feel are better than what you find on the Mini Champ. And while there are only 6 blades as opposed to whatever number there are on the other one, I don't know, I just find this one to be much more useful. But in any case, I think that's going to wrap it up for my my Swiss Army knife section of this Almost Live. Let's move on to something to close the show with. And now for a brief word from our sponsors.
Yeah, it's midnight and I'm not famous yet. Trying to win it all with one more bet. Nothing can stop my 32 hopper, my $10 yo. Welcome to the Volcano Club. Skip the show here. Welcome all you knife chatters. And have we got a deal for you coming up in June? That's right. My Time Machete Mondays. That's right. Every Monday, show up at the Volcano Club, bring your machete, and you're going to get a free Mai Tai. Compliments of Knife Chats with Tobias. What could go wrong? Mai Tais and machetes. My kind of party. Remember, boys and girls, nice full of choices. Choose the Volcano Club. Mai Tai Machete Monday. Knife Chats with Tobias. It's going to be a good one.
We now return to our show. This has been another Throwback Thursday with Knife Chats with Tobias. Hope you enjoyed it, and don't forget to tell your friends. We'll see you again soon.